Hello and welcome to Atom Codes. Today we'll be looking at the basics of backgrounds and sprites and how to utilize them properly. This episode is the second one of a series on Scratch Junior in which we'll be exploring the nuances of this programming language. Remember to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll make sure to try and answer them as well as possible. So, let's start up Scratch Junior and get right into it. So let's open a new project. So when you open up your Scratch Junior program, you'll be greeted with a familiar sight of whatever character you have. Just remember again that this character shouldn't matter. You might have a cat instead of tick right here, but that especially shouldn't matter considering the skills that I'm going to show you in this video to change, modify, or create even new characters that you like. So with Scratch Junior, you're able to modify the characters that you currently have. The way you do that is by clicking this little paintbrush icon right here. And if you click on that, we'll be dragged into this screen. And this is the screen in which you're able to modify the character that you have. So you're able to choose whichever colors you want to use, kind of like a paint tool right here. Let's use orange for now. And you're able to essentially draw on this. So if you'd like to draw freely with your hand or with your cursor or with your mouse, you click this right here and you're able to draw whatever you want. Note that the program automatically smooths lines, so it should be fine no matter how you draw. The next tool that I want to show you is this tool right here. This is a circle or oval tool. It allows you to create circles and ovals however you like. This tool right here allows you to draw squares and rectangles. And this tool over here allows you to draw triangles. Now, what if you've made a mess like I have over here and want to delete what you've created? Well, that's relatively easy because you're able to use this scissors icon right here to delete whatever you've drawn. So you click on this and you click on whatever you want to delete and it immediately disappears. Now, what if you want to make it so that these lines aren't so narrow? Well, that's also quite simple. You're able to choose how narrow a line is by clicking these options down here. So if you want a really thick line, you can draw like this. Or if you want a relatively thinner line, you can click this button right here and it makes line thinner. Now, some other tools that are available to you are this fill tool, for instance. And this fill tool allows you to fill whatever enclosed space that you would like to fill. For instance, if I want to fill this rectangle with green, I can click on this fill tool, click green, and click inside the square. Just a note of caution, however, you can't actually click somewhere that's not enclosed, or else it won't work and nothing will occur. Okay, so some other tools that are available to you, for instance, is this rotate tool. And if you click on this, it allows you to essentially rotate whatever objects you have. And this tool right here essentially allows you to modify the shape that you've made. So let's say you don't actually like the shape of this rectangle. Then you can change it to a different type of polygon that also has straight edges. And this essentially allows you to modify the shapes that you already have created. So what if you've made a grave mistake and you can't actually fix it just by deleting it? What if I want to make this, what if I want to make tick upright again? And what if I want to make this box essentially back to a rectangle? Then we can use the undo and redo buttons in the top left. So right here, if I click this, you'll notice that it's undoing the changes that I've previously made, and redo will redo the changes that I've made. Okay. So lastly, I just want to note that you can actually rename the character that you have here. Let's say you want to give tick an extra K, you can do that as well. Although this probably will not make a huge difference in your actual program. And you notice when you finish this box, finish with this character, the green box actually still stays on the character because we've modified it. Now, let's try creating a new character. And we can do this by clicking this add right here. Again, we're often able to actually use a paintbrush to create a new character, but alternatively, we can use some of the characters that we've already created, such as this tick right here, or we can use one of the preset characters that Scratch Junior has kindly provided for us. For instance, what if we want to have this guy in a car? Then we can click this, click accept, and now we have a guy with a car. Also, just note that you can easily delete your characters by pressing and holding on them and clicking on this red box. And also, just note that you're also able to modify characters that Scratch Junior has already created for you by going back into this modify screen. Okay, with that in mind, let's go on to some backgrounds and how we can modify those as well. So this is relatively simple. We click this button right here, and again, we can use these preset backgrounds. Let's say we use this one, for instance, and make the background into a river. Alternatively, we can create our own backgrounds and perhaps fill this with blue and maybe make a few circular clouds. And there we go. There's our own background that we've made ourselves. Obviously, I've done this in 30 seconds, so you guys can probably make a better looking background than I have, but this will do for now. Okay, with that in mind, I just want to note a few things that you can actually do with these different sprites. So the first thing that you're able to do is you're able to make things invisible, make your sprites invisible. Now, how are you actually able to do that? Using this block right here. And this, when you click on it, the sprite disappears. While when you click on this block right here, the sprite will tend to reappear. So these allow you to conceal sprites very easily if you don't want that sprite on the screen at that very second. Similarly, you can change the size of the sprite. So if you want to shrink it, you can click this right here, or grow with this right here. Now, you can also, like with the movement controls, reset the size of your sprite. So let's say you make it smaller, clicking reset will essentially change that. And also, just like with movements, you can make you can make these larger with the numpad, and essentially it will do the action much larger than it was previously. So a decrease by a magnitude of 4 is much bigger than a decrease by a magnitude of 2. Okay. Lastly, in this column is the talk block. And this right here allows you to say whatever message you'd like. So the default is hi. So if we click on this, the sprite says hi. But obviously we can also change that to say hiya, for instance. And now the sprite will reflect that. Just a last thing to note is that sprites can have different lines of code. And this is something that some beginners may not actually understand. So let's say we have a lot of code in this driver sprite right here. That doesn't actually translate to tick right here. We can give a completely separate line of code that's completely independent of this other sprite. So we can create these sprites independently of each other and have them perform different actions on different commands. And that will be really important, especially down the line. Thanks for listening, and remember to like and subscribe.